There's been a lot of things going on in Marvel's Avengers this week, so let's discuss the highlights, including the Red Room event, the champion progression system, and new Endgame skins. Without further ado, let's get to it. So first up, let's talk about what's happening in the marketplace this week, and that is to say quite a lot. As you guys can see, there are 3 new skins that are kind of the most prominent skins of the patch. The Endgame Iron Man skin, the Endgame Hulk skin, and the Widow's Origin skin, which is based on her appearance in the Deadly Origin comic book. These skins are super enjoyable, the fact that they're kind of very different to stuff we have in game already. The Hulk skin, for example, is one of few where we see him kind of fully suited and booted. The Iron Man skin is a total kind of rework of how the Iron Man armor looks compared to the usual skins in the game. And whilst the Widow's Origin skin is a recolor of one we do already have in game, the fact that it kind of riffs off a comic book look and is pretty similar to the comic book look, that's pretty fun. Again, the issue that usually comes up with this sort of stuff is the hairstyle options. Not so much of an issue with these ones. Hulk and Iron Man don't look too different from their endgame counterparts, but I have seen a few comments saying that Widow's hair should be longer to keep in consistency with the comic book look. Again, I personally don't have too much of an issue with this. I would like to see different versions of stuff like hairstyles and cosmetic stuff like that, but I don't think it's a game breaker or a deal breaker for me personally. But yeah guys, these are all on the marketplace for you guys to purchase. As well as that, there's a continuing sale at the moment with Hulk skins and Hulk cosmetics, if you guys want to pick up anything for your favorite green guy. And there's a few extra little sales per day, so make sure you're checking the marketplace every day during this event to see what's been discounted. Also, before I forget, to promote the new MODOK show coming to Hulu in the US and Disney Plus in other select regions, Marvel's Avengers have added a MODOK nameplate. Make sure to pick that up when you can, guys, as these free nameplates don't usually come around this often, and I'd be doubtful if this one comes back anytime soon, if at all. Next up for discussion is the champion system that was added this week. I won't go overly into detail about the champion system, as other content creators have done a far better job on that than me. Tony Bing, for example, has a lot of information about the actual inner workings of the system, and I think he's explained it far better than I personally could. So if you guys want to see more information about that, check out the description below. I'll put a link to Tony Bing's channel in there. What I really want to discuss is my feelings and opinions on the system and where I think it could go going forward. I think the system in its infancy is a really good way of getting people to kind of engage with the game again, to level these characters further, to kind of develop their characters in some way that they can see tangibly that they're getting stronger. Having these buffs, having these ways of upping damage, upping resistance, upping ways of having more transfer proc abilities is a really fair and simple way of letting people know that they're gaining power as compared to equipping gear or otherwise trying to hunt for gear. There's an immediate progression whenever you kill an enemy. There's an immediate progression whenever you're finishing a quest, because you know you're gaining levels towards an upgrade, a permanent boost to whatever stat you end up picking. The only issue that I personally have with this system is that I feel it could have been more expansive or more interesting. I feel like you could have made it so that there was some choice in it, rather than it was simply that you could unlock everything with time. I think it would be nice to have some kind of options for, you know, going further with ranged damage than you could with melee if you wanted to, or otherwise skipping both and really hammering heroic power, just to kind of go mad with like Thor's god blasts and stuff like that. But you know, it's not the end of the world. It still works. It's still a good system to have in the meantime between big updates. It's not a bad move by the developers. It's not necessarily like a negative thing to add to the game. I just think compared to what could have been done, for example, creating something that wasn't necessarily just passive upgrades, but something that kind of enhanced abilities in other ways, like more of the actual masteries and stuff like that we got through the base leveling process. I think that would have been more enjoyable personally. I hope that they do something like that down the line. I hope that this is just a stopgap in the meantime. But it is an effective system. I just think it could be a more complex or more interesting system than simply filling out another tree on a set of trees. Next up for discussion is the Red Room event itself. And as always, I usually start with the story for a given update. And if you guys have watched my last reviews of the Tachyon Anomaly and the Ruskaya events, you'll know that I wasn't particularly thrilled with the lack of story in those events. But this time, there is a little bit of a difference. This time, they've added a little bit more into the game. They've given a little bit more of an inkling of what's going on and kind of implied some stuff that might be coming in the future. So to begin with, when you log in, you're greeted with one of their notification screens, and it kind of details what's happening with the event. It reads as follows: James Wu has reported a number of anomalies with the Harm Room linked to an unknown computer virus. His diagnostic tests have indicated that the hack originated from the same IP address as the Ruskaya protocol. Along with the virus, encrypted messages have been sent, all addressed to Black Widow from Ruskaya herself, Yelena Belova. So from a story perspective, we do get a little bit more there. We get to learn kind of what's been going on since the Ruskaya event, and also kind of who's involved, who's working on this thing. You know, James Wu is obviously part of this, and obviously Widow has been getting these messages from Yelena. That's a really cool setup for the event itself, though again, I would have loved a cutscene to explain this, or some kind of dialogue to explain this. It's better than nothing, and at least it's actually in the game, as opposed to last time where we kind of had to sift through a blog to kind of find out what was happening. That isn't all, however. We do see these encrypted messages in the game through the descriptions for each of the Red Room challenges, and they go as follows. Hello Natalia, it's been a while. It was almost too easy tracing your movements through Aim's tech. You're getting sloppy. Was it not enough for you to steal my greatest achievement from me so many years ago? Now you go snooping around Aim using my name as your alias? You can't think I would let that go easily. You always were the more cowardly of the two of us, Natalia, shielding yourself within the ranks of your precious Avengers. What will happen when I take that security away? Didn't we learn that sentiment was weakness? Didn't we understand that people just get in the way? Barton, Rogers, Bishop, Khan, you've collected quite the collection of leverage. Or collateral. Your choice. It's cute that you think your little Harm Room was my target. This was reconnaissance, nothing more. We should meet up sometime, take a walk down memory lane, or lack thereof. Take all the time you need. I'm patient. And then Yelena signs off with some Russian. The implications of this are the most interesting. It does suggest that Yelena is going to be more than just this Red Room event villain. It feels like she might come as a full-fledged villain down the line, maybe in a few months or something like that. And that when she does, she's probably going to be going after the other Avengers as much as she is Widow. I'd love to see this. I think this is a great way to set up a character for the future. If they're doing that, I'm really happy for that. Though I am kind of dubious, because the fact that they didn't even add voice lines for Yelena for these, or perhaps even a sort of hint toward her model, suggests to me that it might just be that Yelena is always a background character, someone who's kind of played throughout text that you find in the game. I mean, it would be kind of a tease now if they say, let's meet up, and then that doesn't happen. I hope that it does. Maybe she'll crop up in the Wakanda story, working for Claw. I could see that being a likely possibility. And if that did happen, I'd be really grateful to the team for kind of seeding this so early on. But yeah, I think this is a move in the right direction compared to the events we've had previously. But, you know, there's still a little bit more work to go to make these events more story-friendly and more enjoyable for a person who's playing this game for the narrative. So that's pretty much it in terms of story for this update. So let's jump straight into gameplay. The gameplay around this event is very fun. I loved the design of each of the Red Room challenges. I think they looked stunning. The kind of design level, taking the Harm Room and making it this kind of lava-like, technological, glitch-like landscape was really fun. The fact that the techno-lava was such a big part of the event that you had to kind of make sure you were pushing villains into it, and that also you were avoiding it yourself, because at points you could very easily fall into it if you were using skills in kind of the wrong way or at the wrong times. I think that was really fun and really engaging. The fact that it was a single-player event, I didn't quite like. I think I would have liked a version where you could do it single-player or you could do it multiplayer. I think it's always better to have options. Though I do know that the devs have kind of come out and said that that was due to some limitations on their side, and they are intending for that to be the case in the future. So it's kind of a non-issue at this point. Hopefully they do it in the future. It's just a matter of waiting and seeing what happens with that. As for the rewards for this event, I think they were fairly decent. You know, you got a nameplate, which you generally do for these events. That's kind of the status quo for these, and some gear, which is really helpful. You got some materials to upgrade your gear, and yeah, I think it was pretty straightforward. The one thing I would say is that I'd rather some of these objectives were repeatable, or they give you a reason to kind of go into the Red Room more than the first few times that you do them for the quests. I'd love if they dropped some kind of potential gear or the chance for one of the Red Room skins or something like that, or even a way of progressing through them, and if you do enough of them you could buy a Red Room skin. I think the kind of lack of cosmetics beyond nameplates in these events is kind of a bummer. Getting themed stuff in the marketplace is really fun, but I think there should be a way, baked in way through the content to get at least 1 or 2 skins. As I've said before with Ruskaya, it would have been nice to get skins that were kind of based around the Black Widow movie that we could have earned if we wanted to. It really does get people back into the game. It gets people playing again if they can get something cosmetically as much as upgrading their characters. But yeah, guys, I think this event has been a success, generally speaking. There's a lot to kind of do and think about and work on. And let's be hopeful for what's coming next, guys. I think we've got a lot to look forward to going forward. You know, new heroes, new villains, new modes, new ways of playing, and I think it's just a matter of time. I think this is definitely a stopgap at the moment with the systems that have been put in place and the events that they're doing, but I think it's better than having nothing. And as always, guys, I hope you guys are enjoying Avengers yourselves. If you are, or even if you aren't, leave a comment down below and let me know how it's going for you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.